What is going on, guys? Shin here from CZeroMedia. In today's episode, we're going to continue on with the Cafe Racer front-end conversion. In today's episode, we're going to focus on the brake systems. Alright, so here's what the bike looks like right now. As you can tell already, I have been walking on the bike off the camera whenever I have time. But what I wanted to focus on today is how to install these brake lines and brake caliper choice, brake rotor choice, as well as brake lever choice. I have a whole bunch of boxes that I opened up and installed on the bike already, which I want to explain later on the video. But let's start out by talking about calipers. As all of you know, on this bike I have the GSXR600 forks. Naturally, because it's a GSXR600 forks, I have GSXR600 Tokiko brake calipers. Of course, you can go with something massive and huge and looks aggressive on this bike, but it's naturally the easiest solution to go with whatever brake caliper came with your brake forks. In my case, I'm using the GSXR600 forks with the GSXR600 Tokiko brake calipers. But another option that you can go with is if you add additional spacers here, I believe it was 10 or 15 millimeters, you are able to run Hayabusa rotors because the caliper sticks out further, therefore giving you more stopping power. In my case, I figured the GSXR600 setup is going to give me enough braking power. It's gonna look aggressive as is, so I didn't want to do that. But I've seen people run spacers in the calipers to give it more aggressive look. So as for rotor selection, I got this off eBay, just a natural black color. You can get this in black, you can get this in gold, whatever floats your boat. But when you're selecting your brake, and make sure that you clean this up with brake cleaner before you install it, in case you have bulkhead all over the place or debris all over the garage, right? But you have a choice of going with black like this or a gold one. You also need to be careful when you're selecting these rotors in terms of number of holes here. In my case, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes, but I know you can get these brake calipers with 6 holes. You also need to be careful as to the diameter of these inner holes and outer holes, because there's multiple variations depending on the year of GSXR600 you choose to go with. For me, it was an easy selection because I already have the Cognito Moto's conversion hub. But even if you are ordering a conversion hub like this from Cognito Moto, they'll ask you what year your GSXR600 forks are coming off of, because that would change the number of holes and the diameter of these hole locations as well. So now I haven't installed the brake rotor just yet, simply because I'm waiting for the powder coated rim to come home so I can lace this up. Once this is laced up, I can bolt in the rotor onto the hub and I can really show you how aggressive this thing's gonna look like. That's gonna look amazing. So when it comes to brake installation, that's, should I say, the easiest part to figure out. You just need to match the rotor to go with your calipers and hub to go with your rotors as well. But where I have been kind of customizing and struggling is the actual brake line setup. So let me just show you what I have done so far. So over here I have the stock brake cylinder that came off of a GSXR600 made by the OEM, or should I say tier 1 company, Nissin, very famous Japanese brake manufacturer. The reason why you want to go with something OEM, or at least upgrade it to an aftermarket larger capacity brake cylinder, is simply because when you upgrade your brake calipers, it's going to drive more fluid into the system in order to close those pistons. And in order to do that, you need a larger piston up top. On my previous build, or my initial CB550 build, I also upgraded the brake cylinder, even though that wasn't necessary, but simply because I wanted to get better braking up front. So on a stock GSXR600 setup, you got the brake cylinder here, right, with a banjo bolt, brake line coming down, and this line actually goes straight down to the right side of the brake caliper, this one. And from here there's another line that goes into the left side of the brake caliper. So all the pressure is driven from the brake master cylinder into here, and then there's another line that goes from here to here, which means this banjo bolt was a double banjo with additional height, so you came up to here with two lines going onto it. I hope that makes sense. Now that is a traditional way of installing these brake calipers on GSXR600, but I didn't like that look simply because it was just kind of messy, right? Because you got brake line coming from here to here and another one coming from here to here. In my case, instead, what I did was I have a brake line here, 15-inch in length, coming into a T, and this T provides pressure to both the right and left side of the bike. So here is what I have purchased and what all these boxes are for. This is the 15-inch brake line. I got it from Goodrich. Make sure when you're buying these brake lines that you go with the same company if possible, because some brands will change their brake line flare. I already talked about this in my dual caliper installation video I filmed in the past for the 280Z build series, but depending on the vehicle, the company you go with, you're gonna have different flare sizing and fitment requirements. So make sure, if possible, try to go with the same brand so everything fits as it should. So I got here 3 of 15-inch brake lines, part number 031151. So this is 15-inch, this is 15-inch, this is 15-inch up top. It just happened to work out that way. I guess I will see how that all fits once I put the rim back on the bike. And then I got here 3 45-degree banjo bolts, right? So these guys, this is actually a 45-degree angle. It goes up kind of straight-ish so that it's kind of perpendicular to the ground. I got one here, and one at the actual brake cylinder up top. So there's 3 of them. I got brand new banjo bolt on the right side of the bike because, like I said, this was a dual banjo. It was too long in the past. This is the dual banjo setup that you have on your stock GSXR600 right side caliper. You see how far it sticks out? Obviously you can't use this on single banjo fitting, so I had to get a single banjo to go out with a single outlet. So that is basic overview of how my brake line is fitted right now. What I want to do now and what I'm going to be working on today is trying to figure out how I can mount this T section here. With the Cognito Moto's lower triple tree setup, I have this cut in here that goes all the way to the back of the triple tree, right? You can see my finger coming from the bottom. What I want to do is create a little L bracket that would bolt into the tank stops here, come out, go into the hole, and then clamp onto the brake lines from under. So if I could do that, I should be able to hold the brake line like that, and that should be good to go as far as brake line is concerned. And one thing I forgot to say is that I'm getting all new brake pads for the setup. If you are doing a GSXR600 conversion with a used brake caliper like I am, even if the old brake pad looks okay like this one is, please make sure to replace your brake pads because it's extremely cheap to do anyways, and you don't want to be using old brake pads that came off of old caliper with brand new rotors because brake pads tend to have a lot of material embedded into it. Last thing you want to do is transfer that gross material onto the new rotor. So what we're gonna do now is some custom stuff. I'm gonna chop up some brackets and see if I can make this brake line work on this bike. So it is day 2 because I wanted these brackets to dry up overnight. So here is, oh wow, I already have a little scratch there, whatever, it doesn't matter. Here is a little bracket I've created for the brake line. This is for the left side. If you're sitting on the bike, it just kind of comes in here, drops. Bolt hole on the upper part of the bracket gets mounted through the tank stop mount. You can also see that I made this fancy curvature to meet up with the lower triple tree clamp. And on the right side, in case you haven't noticed, I have it installed also. So with the bracket installed, I now have these two mounting points. The last thing you want on any of your builds is metal components scraping on your brake lines that's also made of metal, because over time through vibration it's just gonna cut in and you're gonna lose brake pressure when you need it the most. So always make sure to run a rubber protector like this, rubber clamp like this, so it is nice and secured. So what I'm gonna do now is go ahead and tighten everything down to show you the final result. And actually, before I get to that, another part I modified is it's not so pretty, but it's functional, and you won't be able to really see this once it's on the bike. But this is a headlight bracket I created, and I'll talk about this in future episodes when I talk about my upper controls and electronics of the bike. But this is also going to tie into the same mounting points. So I'm gonna have brake line mounting points as well as headlamp mounting point tied up to the tank stop. So I'm glad I have this custom tank stop holes, because without it I wouldn't really have anywhere to place it. Yeah, it's just a little Y-shaped headlight bracket I created. Again, it's not pretty because what I did was I welded two pieces of metal to strengthen this portion of the mounting bracket. On the bottom it's nice and flat, but on top it comes up because I wanted to add additional stability so the headlight is not wobbling like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that installed. I'm gonna get the brake lines installed and see what everything looks like. Alright guys, and the brake lines are in, everything is fitted nicely except this 45-degree banjo here. I might actually switch this up into a 90 degree so that the brake line comes straight up this way and bends back like that. That's something I'm gonna consider. You probably see in my future videos, but other than that, I'm happy with how everything has come together. It is kind of wobbly, but that should be good enough for a cafe racer that is not going to be raced or anything, for now at least. I will really see how this brake fitment is once I have the tire back. It is going to be 18-inch rim, so a little smaller than 19-inch stock size. So I'm hoping that this tire is gonna have enough clearance to not hit the brake line, because then that would be bad times. Again, it tees off here, comes up here to the stock master cylinder where the pressure is going to be driven. I didn't tighten this up yet just because I want to play with it, wiggle with it, and make sure the brake line is positioned exactly how I want it. The headlight is mounted, it looks super sexy. I love how it looks. However, I might make another bracket down the road to push this headlight more into the bike to make it more of a one piece, because I feel like right now as it sits and how it's angled, it looks like the headlight's sticking out too far forward. Once I put the tire on the bike and realize that the headlamp needs to be adjusted like that, then it's no problem. It's sitting nice and flush as part of the bike. So I really had to put the tires back on the bike, make sure everything is sitting straight, and then start adjusting the headlamp, because I'm assuming this is sticking out too far, but I don't really know the levelness of the motorcycle until it's sitting on the ground, right? So I'm just gonna leave that as is for now. I probably adjust it down the road, but that's it for now. So that is it for today's episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next episode.